Hello. Hi everyone. Good morning. So, welcome to a new class. So, today we will be attempting the previous year questions of 2025 CSAT, especially from the logical reasoning part. Okay. So, logical reasoning was one of the parts that contributed the most number of questions till 2019. So, since 2019, we are seeing a decline in the number of questions from the logical reasoning part. The quantitative aptitude part is contributing more questions now. That doesn't mean like logical reasoning is declining every year. So consistently they are asking 17 to 19 questions every year. Last year, this year, that is 2025 CSAT, from logical reasoning there were 17 questions. Okay, so consistently around that range questions are being asked. And one of the interesting things about logical reasoning part is that logical reasoning, let's take the example of this year in 2025. Out of the 17 questions that they have asked, 13 to 14 questions can be done by anybody who has a preliminary level understanding of mathematics. That is, if you have a 10th level understanding of mathematics, almost 14 questions from the 17 questions that are being asked from logical reasoning can be done. Okay, so that is one of the reasons what makes logical reasoning interesting. Okay, as you know, like CSAT is a qualifying paper, as we have discussed in the last class itself, and candidates only need to score 33% of the marks. That is 66.66 marks. So this is CSAT sectional syllabus. You have the reading comprehension part, which we have talked about, logical reasoning and analytical ability that we are dealing with now. Then decision making and problem solving, which can also be related to logical reasoning, but cannot be strictly put under any particular title. Okay, so mostly scenario based questions, and the number of questions that actually come from this part is very less. Some years they don't even ask questions from this part. Okay, then there is basic numeracy questions, data interpretation questions, interpersonal skills and communication, which as mentioned here is very less frequent. Okay, so this is the topic wise breakdown from the last 12 years of CSAT and number of questions asked from those parts. Okay, so we will focus mostly on logical reasoning today. So we will let's look at the breakdown of logical reasoning. So this is the question wise distribution, the trend of questions in CSAT in the last 12 years. As you can see, in 2025 there were 29 questions from reading comprehension, 34 from quantitative aptitude, and 17 from logical reasoning. And in this PPT I actually included a couple of more questions which are strictly not under logical reasoning, but can be attempted easily with some logic. Okay, yeah. So this is the breakdown of the 2025 CSAT paper, logical reasoning. Interestingly, there were 6 questions from coding and decoding. Usually they used to ask 1 or 2 questions. In 2024, there were 3 questions, and this year we had 6 questions. Okay, so this is a very interesting and a very important part. And number series, there are 3 questions, blood relations 2 questions, cubes and dice there is 1 question, and in comparison there is 1 question, directions 1 question, and miscellaneous, which cannot be strictly put under any particular heading, are put under miscellaneous, and there were 3 questions. So we have already done this, the next 2 questions, this question and this question, and we will continue with the third question. Okay, so yeah. So we were discussing about the way to divide a pattern in order to find the way to divide a series in order to find a pattern. Okay. Okay, so the series that is given here, the pattern that is given here is A, B, C, C, A, B, so A, B, C, C, A, B, C, C. Okay. Okay, so these kind of questions you can directly apply the options and find the answer. Okay. So, but the important thing is that you need to find that division where you can divide where you can see the repeating pattern in this series. Okay. So let's apply the first option here. So the first option is B, C, B, C and A. Okay. So as I have told you before, there are 18 letters in this series, and the way to divide that can be 18 into 1, 9 into 2 or 6 into 3. So let's see, like, are you able to find a pattern in these 18 letters as a whole? No, right? So we have a couple of questions from our YouTube friends. Okay, will there be CSAT live all weeks? Yeah, there will be CSAT live from live classes all weeks from now on. Yeah, there will be quantitative aptitude classes too. So today we are dealing with logical reasoning, and that too particularly the CSAT 2025 paper. Okay, so here are you able to find a coherent pattern? You are unable to find a coherent pattern, right? So let's apply the second option. So let's apply the second option. There is A, C, B, C and A. So is there a coherent pattern for the whole of 18 letters here? No. So let's divide it. 6 into 3, let's try to divide. A, B, A, C, C, A, B, B, C, C. So we are unable to find a coherent pattern in this form also. Okay, we have tried the first 18 into 1 type, 9 into 2 type and 6 into 3 type. For the first two options, we are unable to find a coherent pattern. Hence, let's go to the third option. Okay. Let's apply the third option. It will be B, C, B, A and C again. Are you able to see a pattern here now? A, B, B, C, 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 A, B, B, C, 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 A, B, B, C, C, C. Okay. So in these type of questions where there is a pattern given and you need to find the missing letters, first you need to divide it in find how many ways that pattern can be divided. Okay. And then apply the options. So once you apply the options, you are definitely going to get the answer. So even though these questions might seem a little bit time taking in the beginning, so the specialty of these kind of questions is that if you put the time that is required, like 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes for each question, these questions will give you the answer. There are some questions where you will like end up spending 10-15 minutes without any result. But these are the questions where which will fetch you easy marks. Okay. Yeah, so let's go to the next question. Okay. So the D option is neither 1 nor 2. So yeah. This is a chapter where we will discuss painting cubes and dices. Okay. So this is a chapter where we need to know the particular formulas in order to arrive at the answer. Okay, but if you learn the formulas, it is easy to arrive at the answer. So we will discuss this in detail. This is one of the questions in the tougher side, I would say. It cannot be arrived at, the answer cannot be arrived at without knowing the formulas. So we will discuss this in detail. Okay. So let's read this together. Please listen here. A solid cube is painted yellow on all its faces. Yellow color is painted on all its faces. So how many faces does a solid cube have? 6 faces. Okay. The cube is then cut into 60. The cube is then cut into 60 smaller but equal pieces. The cube is cut into 60 pieces. All are equal in size. In all the dimensions, they are identical to each other. By making the minimum number of cuts. Okay, you need to understand minimum number of cuts. In some cases, this won't be the thing and it will be rightly mentioned in the question. So you need to understand, so you need to note down how many cuts are there and if it is a minimum number of cuts. Okay, and there is particular formulas to find if you know if it's a minimum number of cuts and the number of pieces that are made into. Which of the following statements are correct? Okay, the minimum number of cuts is 9. We need to verify if these statements are true. And the number of smaller pieces which are not painted on any face is 6. I'll explain to you this in detail, but let's first establish the information that is already given here. Yeah. Yes. So it's given that there are 60 smaller but equal pieces. That's an equation to arrive at this. Okay. So the equation is, please note down, x plus 1 into y plus 1 in into z plus 1 is equal to, in this case 60, the number of pieces into which the cube is cut into. Okay. Here in this case it is 60. And so this is the number of pieces, 60. This is the equation to find the number of pieces and the number of cuts. X plus y plus z is equal to the number of cuts. And there is one more condition for this where x, y, since it is asking the minimum number of cuts, x, y and z should be as closely as possible to each other. Okay, should be as closely as possible to each other. Okay, now we will try to find what x is, what y is and what z is. You understood this, right? X plus 1 into y plus 1 into z plus 1 gives 60, gives the number of pieces into which a solid cuboid is cut into, where x plus y plus z is equal to the number of cuts. Since minimum number of cuts are asked, x, y and z are as close as possible to each other. Right. Yeah. Now how we will find x plus 1 and y plus 1 and z plus 1. So tell me the number of ways in which 60 can be represented. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it can be represented as 20 into 3, but we need 3 numbers here. We need 3 numbers here. How it can be represented as a multiple of 3 numbers? I'll give you an example. 1 into 6 into 10. Okay. It can be represented as, let me first give you an idea. It can be represented as 1 into 6 into 10. Then it can also be represented as 5 into 6 into 2. 2 into 5 into 6. Right. 2 into 5 into 6. And what's the number that you told? Yeah, it can also be represented as 3 into 4 into 5. It can be represented as 2 into 5 into 6. And it can also be represented as 1 into 6 into 10. So these are the different ways in which 60 can be represented. But there is a condition. X and Y and Z should be as closely as possible to each other. So in all these numbers, which are the 3 numbers that are as closely as possible to each other? 3 into 4 into 5. So is equal to 60. So we find that 3 into 4 into 5 is equal to 60. We still have not arrived at the answer. We are making certain assumptions in order to arrive at the answer. So 3 into 4 into 5 is equal to 60. So what is 3? 3 is x plus, 3 is x plus 1. 3 is x plus 1. 3 is equal to x plus 1. So what is x? X is equal to 2. X is equal to 2. Similarly, what is y? Y is 4 plus 1. 4 is y plus 1. Y is equal to 3. Similarly, what is z? Z is 4. So the minimum number of cuts here is 9. That is 2 plus 3 plus 4. So is the first assumption satisfied? The first assumption is satisfied, right? The minimum number of cuts is 9. Right? Are you able to understand? Manslayo? Are you able to understand? Is there anyone with a doubt? Do you have a doubt? Do you have doubt? Okay, I'll tell you once more. So you understood the equation that we wrote first, right? X plus 1 into y plus 1 into z plus 1 gives the number of pieces into which, give me a book. You see this book? Okay. This is not a cuboid, this is more like yeah. Let's assume this is a cuboid, okay. We are cutting this into 60 small but equal pieces. Okay, all the dimensions of the resulting smaller cubes are the same. Okay. So we are getting what is the equation to find that number 60? X plus 1 into y plus 1 into z plus 1. Okay. What does x, y and z represent? Sorry? Yeah. Yes. Tell me. Three into 4 into 5. We arrived at that answer, no? Okay. Yeah, so we have the equation x plus 1 into y plus 1 into z plus 1 is equal to 60. This is okay. This is okay, right? Okay. We also know that x plus y plus z is equal to the number of cuts. Since minimum number of cuts they are asking, x and y and z must be as close as possible to each other. Right. Kiran, are you getting? It should be as close as possible to each other. And now we need to find three numbers whose multiplication we are results in 60. So we looked at different patterns. We looked at different options. The first one was 1 into 6 into 10. Second one was 5 into 2 into 5 into 6. The third one was 3 into 4 into 5. We were getting 60. Why did we select this? Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Abhijit. Okay. So why did we select this? We select 3 into 4 into 5 because these are the numbers that are as close as possible to each other. We looked at other options too. But in other options, the numbers were not as close as possible to each other in this case. So we concluded that this is the minimum number of cuts. Okay. So this is the, yeah. So here x plus 1 is equal to 3. X is the cut. So what is x? 2. Similarly, y is the cut. What is y is equal to? 3. And z is the cut. What is z equal to? 4. What is x plus y plus z here? 9. So the first assumption is satisfied, right? You're okay, right? Yeah. So the first assumption is satisfied. So you need to understand that if, imagine if I have to cut this book into 3 equal pieces. 3 equal pieces, I need to cut this plane of the book into. So how many cuts I need to make? 2 cuts, right? So the number of cuts will always be 1 less than the number of pieces that you require. Right, if I need to cut this into 3 equal pieces, how many cuts should I make? 2 cuts. Right. Hence, x is equal to 2, y is equal to 3 and z is equal to 4. Okay. So the first assumption is satisfied. Now let's look at the second assumption. The number of smaller pieces which are not painted on any face is 6. So this is the second assumption that they are giving. They are saying that the number of smaller pieces which are not painted on any face is 6. So when you paint a cuboid, a solid cube and cut, there will be faces where there will be cubes where there is no paint at all. It comes from the inside. When it comes from the inside, the brush will not have touched it. So there will be cubes where there is no paint at all. Right? You understood that, right? Any doubt about it? Okay. So again there is formula to find those faces where there is no color at all. So let's write that down. So in case of a cuboid, a solid cube, the formula to find where when this is cut into smaller pieces, cubes with 3 faces painted. Not all 8 faces will be painted. Why? Because when we cut a book, like imagine I painted this whole book and then I cut it into 60 smaller pieces. So one piece will only be as big as this. Okay, as big as this. So it won't get all of its faces painted. Okay. So the equation to find in case of a cuboid where 0 face is painted, which means no faces have paint on them at all, is yeah, cuboid is a solid cube and cuboid are the same thing. A cuboid is a solid cube. So geometrically there is some explanation. Yeah, but the equation when it comes to like when you cut this into smaller pieces changes. Okay. So that will be L minus 2 into L minus 2 into B minus 2. So this is the equation to find the side with the number of cubes with 0 faces painted. Okay, here L represents the number of cuts that are the number of pieces. Okay, the number of pieces in along this face I am making 2 cuts. Okay, so how many pieces are there? 3 pieces, right? So imagine like I am making X cuts along this plane. So how many pieces are there? What is X corresponding to? X is corresponding to 2, Y is corresponding to 3, and Z is corresponding to 4. Z is equal to 4. Imagine I am making X cuts, that means 2 cuts here. How many pieces are there? 3. So this is 3 minus 2. And I am making Y cuts along this. Along this plane I am making Y cuts. So how many pieces will there be? Sorry, sir. Once more, tell me. What's the doubt? What's the doubt? No, there will be 4, right? Look, I am making 3 cuts here. Do you have a doubt? Do you have a doubt? So imagine I am making Y number of cuts here. What is Y here? 3. If I am making 3 cuts here, what is the number of pieces that there will be here? 4. So this will be 4 minus 2. And here I am making Z number of cuts. So how many pieces will be here? 5. So that will be 5 minus 2. What is the resulting number? The resulting number is 1 into 2 into 3, which is 6. The key is knowing this equation and what L, H and B stands for. L stands for the number of pieces there are along the lengthwise, the number of pieces there are along the height-wise, and B represents the number of pieces there are along the breadth-wise. You got it? Okay, I will explain to you. Is there any doubt? If you have a particular doubt, please ask me. I will try to clear it. Is there any doubt? Shijil Alaviri? Shajil. Shajin, yeah. You have a doubt? No. Is there any doubt? I'll try to explain this once more. Yeah. So I am going to draw a solid cube here. So it won't be as good as it needs to be, but please bear with me. Okay. Imagine this is a solid cube. Abhijit, imagine this is a solid cube. Okay. Now we have x is equal to 2, right? X is equal to 2, y is equal to 3 and z is equal to 4. So what does x correspond to? Please tell me, what does x correspond to? Sorry? Yeah, number of cuts that are made. Okay. Imagine x is the number of cuts that are made. So since this is a 3D shape, the cut will be going this way. Right. So how many number of cuts have I made? I have made 2 cuts. But how many number of pieces did I cut this into? 3. That represents L, and L is equal to 3. Similarly, there is Y. I am cutting this into, I am making 3 cuts. How many equal pieces did I divide it into? 4, which is represented by H. H is 4. Then what is the cut that is remaining? This way. Okay. How many cuts should I make? 4 cuts. Okay, so how many pieces am I getting? 5. So what is that? B is equal to, tell me. Right. Now, now here they say that the number of smaller pieces which are not painted on any face is 6. We need to find the number of pieces where there are no paint at all. Right. So there is an equation for that, as I have told you. What is that equation? That equation is L minus 2 into H minus 2 into B minus 2. Once you replace these L, H and B, you get 1 into 2 into 3, that is equal to 6. And the first one is already satisfied, and the second assumption is also satisfied. Okay? Got it? Okay, so this is one of the tougher questions, which this is not tougher actually if you know the formula, but you have to remember the formula, otherwise you won't be able to arrive at the answer on your own. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Yeah, try to find the answer to this question. Let's move a little bit faster, okay? The remaining questions are easy, so let's try to move a little bit faster. So if 7 into 24 is equal to 25, I mean, this is not into, there is just a sign that they have given. It doesn't mean there is into. You have to find the meaning behind that sign in order to crack this code. So I'll give you a hint. So the hint is Pythagoras theorem. Got the answer? So let's move a little bit forward, little bit faster. So I'll tell you the answer. 7 square plus 24 square is equal to 25 square. It's a Pythagorean triplet. Similarly, 12 square into 12 square plus 16 square is equal to 20 square. It's a Pythagoras triplet. And 16 square plus 63 square. We need to find 6. We have understood from these two examples, we understood that this is a Pythagoras triplet. Now all we need to find is what is 16 square plus 63 square is equal to. So in order to do that, please look here. I'll give you a similar way to arrive at the answer. You know what 16 square is, right? Sorry? 256. So let's look at the unit number. 16 into 16, you will get the unit number as 6 into 6, which is 6 only. The unit number of this 16 into 16 will be 6. Plus, what will be the unit number of 63 into 63? It will be 9, right? 9. So the resulting unit number will be 6 plus 9. It will be 15. Yeah. So the unit number will be 5. So the answer will be 65. So you don't have to do it like each one by one. You can use answers like this. So related to this, there is another question using the same logic. The logic that I just told you, not the Pythagorean one, the other one, you will be able to arrive at the answer. Yeah, do this question. "30 seconds, please. This is very easy question. You got the answer? Huh? Answer. This is 17th question. You got the answer? Huh? Which one? 3 yo. Alla. 3 alla. So people in the live, you also attempt this question. This is one of the easiest questions in the exam. Huh? DU alla. So why I made you do this question after the 5th question was, as I have told you, please look at here. As I have told you, in the last question we saw that there is only one answer with 5 in its unit place. So 65 will be the answer. So you all know that if look at this pattern, what are the numbers that are multiplied? All are odd numbers, right? Any odd number that is multiplied with 5 will have 5 in its unit place. Okay. So this is an odd number. Everything is an odd number. Right, and there is 5 here. So the unit digit will be 5. Okay. Everybody got the logic behind this? Logic one slide. Yeah, this is another type of question that is interesting. Listen here, if you have any kind of doubts, you can clear it with me after the class. Now we have to go a little bit faster because because of the time constraints. So this is an interesting question. Please listen here. This is the kind of question that are usually asked in CAT exam. Okay, I think, but in CAT exams, they actually UPSC had to give one more sentence here. I think they did not give, and because of which there were doubts raised due to this on this question. Okay, a mobile phone has been stolen. There are 3 suspects. There are 3 people who we think stole the mobile phone, but only one of them has stolen. There are 3 suspects, P, Q and R. They were questioned knowing that only one of them is guilty. The responses are as follows. So in these questions, there will also be one more sentence. That sentence is usually the person who is guilty will also lie. That sentence is usually given in CAT questions. Okay, in CAT questions you could find the guilty person as liar. Then there is an alternator who alternates between telling a lie and telling a truth, and the innocent person who only says the truth. So here the UPSC should actually also be given one more sentence which says that the guilty person lies. But here we have to assume that the guilty person lies. Okay. So P says that I did not steal, Q stole it. So we need to assume P is the culprit, Q is the culprit, and R is the culprit. And once we assume and compare the sentences, we will be able to arrive at the answer, find out who actually stole it. So let us look at one by one. P, Q, and R. P says that I did not steal it. Now we are assuming that P is the one who stole it. P is the guilty one. P says that he did not steal it. So what does it mean? Huh? P is lying. P is lying. We are assuming that P is lying. So what does it mean? I did not steal. What does it mean? He stole. Right. He stole. And Q stole it. What does it mean? Q did not steal. Right. And the second one, Q says that R did not steal. Okay. Next we are assuming that Q is the culprit. So Q says that R did not steal. R did not steal. What does it mean? R stole. R stole. And I did not steal. What does it mean? I stole. I stole. So only one of them stole. Only one of them is the culprit. But Q says that R did not steal. That means R also stole and he also stole. It doesn't stand. Right. It doesn't satisfy each other. So we can say that Q is not the culprit. Okay? You got it? I'll tell you one more. Q says that R did not steal. Now we are assuming that Q is the culprit. And he also says that I did not steal. When he says that R did not steal, what it means? R stole. I did not steal. What does it mean? I stole. Does it stand together? There is only one culprit. It doesn't satisfy each other, right? So we are assuming that Q is not the culprit. Now next one. R says that I did not steal. What does it mean? R is the culprit. That's what we are getting from this statement. R is the culprit. I do not know who did it. Which means I know who did it. Does that stand? That is also not satisfying each other, right? He says that I stole. Then he says that I know who did it. It doesn't satisfy each other, right? So we conclude that R is also not the culprit. Then we go back again to the P, what P says. P says that I did not steal. Since he is the culprit, he will be lying. He stole it. And Q stole it. We already have established that Q is not the culprit. So this must also be the lie. Okay. So who is the culprit here? P is the culprit. You understood, right? We have to assume that what the guilty person is saying is a lie. Okay, this also stands on the tougher side of the questions, just like that cube one. And you have to know the assumptions that we need to make. Okay. മനസ്സിലായോ? Is there any doubt? Yeah, that is why this question was contested. Next time you write CSAT, you will find like after CSAT. Actually, this time I found that the number of contestations was more in CSAT than in GS paper. People write lots of mails and there are discussions, this question is right, that question is right. We can only assume. And UPSC also sometimes cancels questions. So imagine like the cutoff will be like 80, 85.3, 85.4. The cutoffs are happening that way because UPSC is cancelling questions. But the lucky thing is that you don't have to attempt all the questions in CSAT. 45 to 50 questions is a decent attempt. So you can give all your concentration to their questions. So here I told you, among the 17, 18 questions, I think I have added like 19 questions here. 19 questions that are asked, 15 can be easily done. That cube question can be done only if you know the formula. Similarly, this question is a little bit contested. Every other question and that goal scoring question also you need to put some attention into it. But still you will get the answer. Every other question can be easily arrived at. So that is why I told in the beginning, in the first class I told you that if you crack comprehension part and logical reasoning with your basic logic, with your basic understanding of mathematics, CSAT is easy to clear. Otherwise, what toppers who have consistently, who became toppers but consistently failed in many prelims attempts, what happened was they win GS, they clear GS but fail to clear CSAT because of this exact reason. So your attention should not be spread thin. Okay, you need to find the 45 or 50 questions that where you can actually excel. And in any question, in whichever the year may be, whether it's a hard year or an easy year, there will always be 45 to 50 questions where you can do and score decent marks. Okay. Yeah, and let's do this question. This is also from coding and decoding only. I will try to resolve the echo issue. Give me a minute. So please attempt this. Give me a minute, guys. I will resolve the echo issue now. What is X in the sequence? Okay, let's find out. Let's find out. Yeah, let's find out. Let's find out. So look at this question. So we need to find X in the sequence. I have always told you that try to establish a relationship between the adjacent numbers. Okay, here the difference between the adjacent numbers is a prime number. Okay, the difference between the adjacent number is a prime number. So there is 2, there is 3, there is 5, 7, and the next one is 11. Right. So the answer is 21. So this is also an easy question. Yeah. This is also from coding and decoding. People who studied coding and decoding, it was a good year for them, I guess. So if France is coded as this number, Germany is coded as this number, then how is Yemen coded? 30 seconds, please do. It's a very easy question. You will get the answer right away. Sorry? You understood how you arrived at the answer, right? So here the numbers are corresponding to the letters. D an answer, D is the answer. So E, what does it correspond to? Corresponds to 1. Now, so we have established that it is corresponding to 1, right? So Y, 7. Next M. M is 8. So what is Yemen? Yemen is 7. E is 1. M is 8. 1, 3. So the answer is D. Right? Satisfied, right? So this is also a very similar question. This we will do if the time permits us. Otherwise, you can do it as a kind of a homework. Okay. Yeah. Try to do this question. Huh? What happened? Try to do this question. 12. Question number 11. Question number 11. Okay. So. That's a PDF that I gave them separately. This is PP. Okay, first we will do this. We'll do this together. Next question you can do on your own. Okay. Everybody listen here. Listen here. Okay. It said that P is the brother of Q and R. Can you give me a PDF? Okay. Yeah. This is the 12th question, okay. This is the 12th question in your PDF. Please listen here. Let's do this question together. Next question you can do on your own. Okay. P is the brother of Q and R. It said that P is the brother of Q and R. In these kind of relationship questions, one thing that we need to understand is the relationship between the people that is mentioned and their gender. Here when it says that, before that I will give you some random things. This means male. Male. This symbol represents male. This symbol represents female. This represents generation gap. This represents siblings. You know what siblings is, right? Okay. And This represents couple. Eh? Couple. Okay. ഒന്നുകൂടെ കാണണോ? Male, female, generation gap, siblings, yeah. So look at the statements that are given here. P is the brother of Q and R. P is the brother of Q and R. So we understand that P is a male. So let's put him inside this triangle. P is the brother of Q and R. But we do not know what is the gender of Q and R. Q and R. Okay, what is the next sentence? S is R's mother. S is R's mother. So S is female, generation gaps, mother. T is P's father. T. He is also male and he is P's father. How many of the following statements are definitely true? So, in these kind of questions, assume a normal family. Okay, don't assume a dysfunctional family. What I meant is, so in normal cases we can say that they are a couple. P is the brother of R, R's mother is S, P's father is T. So S and T should be married to each other. You could also think that like S could be from R could be from a different father, P could be from a different mother. But assume a normal family in these cases unless it is given otherwise. Sometimes it could also say that S is married to somebody else, P is married to someone else, things like that. But in all other cases, assume a normal family. Okay. So R and P. So there are other sentences. How many of the following statements are definitely true? S and T are a couple. It's true, right? S and T are a couple. Q is T's son. പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ? Because we do not know, it could also be a daughter. We do not know what is the gender. Then T is Q's father. That we can say. T is Q's father. S is P's mother. That also we can say. R is T's daughter. R is T's daughter. We cannot say that because we do not know the gender of this person. Then P is S's son. That we can say. P is S's son. Select the correct answer using the given code. So what is the correct answer? Only 4. Right. C, only 4 is the correct answer. Okay. Got it? Okay, this is also a relationship based question, blood relation question. If you understood the last question, you will be able to do this question on your own. So try to do this question on your own. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. In a certain code, so look at this question. This is an easier question. In a certain code, 64 is written as 343. Okay. 216 is written as 729. How is 512 written in that code? I'll give you a hint. Cube and cube root. Okay. You're able to get the answer. So here basically what is done is 64 is 4 cube. Alle. 64 is 4 cube. It is written as 343, which is 7 cube. What's the difference between 4 and 7? 3. So 216 is 6 cube. Alle. So 6 cube is written as 9 cube. 729. 5112 is 8 cube. So what will it be written as? What will it be written as? 11 cube. Right. 11 cube. What is 11 cube? 1331. Okay. Yeah. This is another question. Try to do this question. Shijin. PDF. Thanks. Okay. So let's do this question. Okay. So there are 7 places A, B, C, D, E, F and G in a city connected by various roads. So this question is from the chapter Senses of Direction. Okay. It's one of the comparatively easier chapters like coding and decoding. I was actually about to take that class today. So we'll take it. Okay. So connected by various roads A, B, A, C, C, D, B, D, E, B, F, E, G and F, G. Those are of not very great importance. It says that A is 6 kilometers south of B. So let's say that this is B. A is 6 kilometers south of B. This is A and this is 6 kilometer south of B. A is 10 kilometer west of C. 10 kilometer west of C. This is 10 kilometer and this point is C. Okay, listen. A is 10 kilometer west of C. D is 5 kilometer east of E. D is 5 kilometer east of E. But we don't have any mention of D or E here yet. So let's move on to the next part. C is 6 kilometer north of D. C is 6 kilometer north of D, which means D is here and this is 6 kilometer. Okay, this is C, this is D, and the distance between them is 6 kilometer. F is 9 kilometer west of B. F is 9 kilometer west of B. This is west. So you know what east, west, all of that direction, no? Okay. So all you have to know from this chapter is directions and where does the sun rise and where does the sun set, and you will be easily able to get your marks. F is 9 kilometer west of B. So this is 9 kilometer west. So F is 9 kilometer, F 9 kilometer west of B. Okay. F is 12 kilometer north of G. F is also 12 kilometer north of G. So this is G and it's 12 kilometer. 12 kilometer north of G. A person travels from D to F through these roads. A person travels D to F through these roads. Okay. D to F. Okay. So D to F. So we could connect these here. But there is no mention of a road called DG. Earlier they were given names of roads, but there is no mention of a road called DG. Okay. So the person has to travel, if he has to travel from D to F, he has to travel D to C, C to A to B and B to F, which is 6 kilometer plus 10 kilometer plus 6 kilometer plus 9 kilometer. What is 6 kilometer plus 10 kilometer? 16 kilometer. 16 kilometer plus 6 kilometer, 22 kilometers. 22 kilometers plus 9 kilometer, 31 kilometers. So the answer is 31. Okay. Okay. Let's do this question. Okay, we'll do the 7th question later. Let's do this question. So here certain inequalities are given, certain equations are given, and then certain conditions are also given. If they are asking if these conditions are satisfied in all the cases, let us check. We see that the condition that is given is A is less than or equal to B greater than or equal to C less than D greater than E greater than F greater than or equal to G is equal to H. The condition that is given is B is always greater than E. Similarly in here also the condition is S is always less than V. Okay, so here in this case forget about all this. What is the relation that we need to find between B and E? Where is that? B and E. So is there a direct relation between B and E given? No, there is no. There is C and D here. But look at the nature of the signs here. It is in opposite directions. Okay, it is in opposite direction. So B and E cannot be compared. So B and E cannot be compared. So we cannot say that B is always greater than E. Okay, only if B and E can be compared, we could say if B is greater than E. B and E cannot always be compared. Okay, you understood, right? So the second one. So the second one, What is the relation that we need to find between S and V? Where is that? Here. Here we need to find whether S is always less than V. Anslayo. You got it right. S is always less than B. Here it is said that S is equal to T less than or equal to U less than or equal to V. Okay, here there is equal to sign also. So there could also be cases where T is equal to U. There could always also be cases where T is equal to U, which means there is also cases where S is equal to V. So does this always stand? No. So this is wrong. So the answer is neither 1 nor 2. Okay. Okay. So we will do one more question. We have only skipped like 2 or 3 questions, but those questions are mostly from, there is one question from blood relation, which we have done. If you understood that question, you will be able to do the other question also. Then there is another question from coding and decoding, which we have done 5 questions. We have only left 1 question. So we will be able to do that one also. So this is a question from coding and decoding. Are you able to make a sense of this? So always try to, as I have told you, always try to establish a relation. Okay, always try to establish a relation. And always consider the options also. Look at the options before you attempt and then try to attempt the answer. Can we do this question? Okay. So, what is the relation between January and December? Think in the terms of numbers. Huh? 12 and 1. That way can also be seen. What if I say that, so before January and December, January is also given. What's the relation? Like, consider like January is equal to 1. So what's the difference between them? 0. Difference between January and January. It's 0. January and December. -1 if you go back. Similarly, December and October, it's -2. Let's say that, forget about this, but let's come to March, and before we establish that, so let's assume that this is, let's assume that it is 0. This is -1 and this is -2, and what could be the number here? -3. And what could be the number in between X and March? -4. So what could be the month here? July. Right, July. And March and October, what is the relation? -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. We are going backwards. Okay, if you find that relation, you will be able to arrive at the answer. Okay. -5. So October and Y, what will it be? -6. So what will Y be? April. So what's the option? July and April. Okay. So now we have done all the questions from CSAT Logical Reasoning Part 2025 CSAT paper. So, how did you find this? Was it easy or hard? How was it? How was it? Did you find it easy or hard, or was it doable if you practiced questions? How did you find it? It was doable, right? So all of these questions are doable if you practice this question. The one that I find a little bit hard was that cubes question, painting faces of cube. That question too, if we actually knew the equation, it's a very easy question which can be done in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Okay. Every other question, if we had practiced, we have some idea about logical reasoning part in the CSAT classes, all of the other questions could be, could be done. So logical reasoning continues to be a easier part to attempt. Okay. So what you need to do is, you need to continue doing questions, do at least 2-3 questions every day. You have time now. Even if you have started, even if you have not started till now, please start from today onwards. You have time. Try to do previous year questions, because the way UPSC frames a question is very similar in each year. So you will be able to avoid the element of surprise. Okay, you will be able to avoid the element of surprise by practicing on PYQs. Okay. So everyone in the YouTube, so we will be continuing this session. Today we did the 2025 questions. Next week we will be doing the 2024 questions from the logical reasoning part. We will also be doing CSAT questions from the other parts. We mean comprehension and the quantitative aptitude part. And this series will follow, and please let us know your comments. Please let us know what we need to improve and how can this be made better. Thank you everyone.